Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm Jed Brown, your host for this week's episode, and today we're bringing you once again to beautiful Barbados as we catch up with the inspirational Tom Hinds of Naniki Barbados. Now, we recently visited Tom at Naniki to learn more about his particularly special part of the island. He brought us on a trail around the verdant forests of Naniki. We enjoyed forest bathing, yoga, and breakfast, accompanied by the sounds of nature and the sumptuous views of the Atlantic Ocean in the distance. Today, we catch up with Tom to learn a little more about Naniki and his approach to responsible tourism. Have a listen and let us know what you think. Enjoy. So, Tom, you are most welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, and thanks so much for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure. To give our listeners a bit of background, Tom, I had the great good fortune of being in Barbados, indeed, in the low season just over a week ago. And you very kindly hosted myself and Kevin. On the Sunday, we took part in your fabulous short sort of trail hike on the Sunday morning, very early on. And then we had yoga and breakfast, which is one of the packages that you do. But just for our listeners, do you just want to tell us a little bit about Naniki, how old you guys are, not how old you are, Tom, specifically, how old Naniki is, and a little bit about what you've got there.
No problem at all. So I bought this property in 1991. So we're talking 30 plus years ago. And quite frankly, it was bought with the whole intention, or the sole intention at the time, of developing an anthurium farm, which is a cut flower, a tropical cut flower that is quite popular worldwide. But once I started to do that, then I realized that this property had a potential to grow organically. And we continued on that journey in 2001 with the opening of Naniki restaurant. And then the cottages the cottages, I would say came into being in about 2009, 2010. So if you will, it almost seemed like a 10-year cycle to the building out of what we have here so far. I am particularly excited about discussing the low season travel in Barbados, only because we are a small island, of course. We are in the tropics, and we have sunshine pretty much 24 hours. Well, not 24 hours a day. That's stretching it a little bit, but certainly on a daily basis. And I've always thought that a lot more should be done for the off season, which you call the low season, which would be between the months of May through to November, let us say. One of the things about the low season, and I know that's probably it would be top of mind to most persons, is that we are in the rainy season, or in the hurricane season, if you will, and that is true. But truth be told, the rainy season, you are pretty much guaranteed to get full sunshine right through that period on any given day. So it is not as if the rain is going to fall every single day that you are going to be on holiday. And that's something that I want to make abundantly clear. Even with the hurricane season, fortunately, we have the technology now to predict when the hurricanes are coming across the Atlantic. And if need to buckle down, you'll buckle down. But I do not think that should really be that much of a concern for persons who wish to visit Barbados, because like I said, you can have a torrential downpour, and within 10 minutes, unless you observe the runoff, you would not believe the rain had just fallen. And that is the nature of it, you know.
Yeah, it's true, and to be fair, that was our experience last week in Barbados. And in fact, I think when we were on the hike last week, Tom, I think it rained a little bit. Then it rained for about 15 minutes, and then it stops,
and that's it.
And everything dries pretty much immediately, of course, because of the sun and the heat.
Yes, yes, of
And
course.
actually, you don't mind the downpour because honestly, it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because you can get it. Well, at Naniki, we are fortunate in that we are 2 to 4 degrees cooler than any other part of the island, right? So,
yeah,
um, and because we have a microclimate here, and I might have mentioned that to you when you were here. So, we get the ever-present prevailing winds coming across from the Atlantic. So the refreshing bit um, is probably more of a welcome when you are like on the south coast or the west coast of Barbados, where it can become quite warm.
yeah.
But here in on the eastern side of the island, in the Scotland district, as we refer to it as, it is, it's like business as usual for us,
Absolutely. And the tell us just again for our listeners that haven't had the benefit of visiting you guys at Naniki yet, although hopefully they will. The location there, you were sort of saying it's the Scotland district, but just paint the picture because there'll be a lot of people that they only know Barbados from the tourism brochures in the old days and the websites where they just see pictures of five-star resorts and beaches.
Right.
But where you are, it's very, very, very different from that. It felt like we were in a tropical rainforest in, I don't know, Costa Rica or somewhere. It's just absolutely magical. Just tell our listeners a little bit more about the location that you guys are in there.
Okay, so we are on the eastern side of the island, and as you mentioned, it is referred to as the Scotland district only because you can actually see rolling hills like in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah,
Okay, it is because of the topography. You have these wonderful viewscapes. They're only not seascapes; they're landscapes. You can drive through the Scotland district and really get a sense of what of tropical volcanic island is like, because the the areas where most person would be familiar with, again because of where our emphasis on tourism in Barbados always laid, is the west coast and the south coast. Now, Barbados is generally a very flat island. We can't boast of mountains except for the Scotland district, of course, and so unfortunately, a lot of guests who are tourists, I should say, who come to Barbados during the high season or even in the low season, get to frequent the west coast and the south coast, and very rarely, although they're growing numbers, would they venture out to our side of the island. But I mentioned just now that we have a microclimate, and that and so we have a within that tropical space, um, you have the cool breezes. So, for instance, in January we can go down to 21 degrees, okay, which is like air conditioned temperature, for reference.
yeah,
But in Barbados, because we are so small, you can reside on the Scotland district. You can reside at Naniki, and you can still get to the beach and enjoy the Caribbean Sea and the sun and the sand, all within 20 or 25 minutes. And then when you get hot and flustered, you can, guess what, jump back in the car and come back up and things. So you can actually have the best of both worlds when you're staying here. Um, and that is because we're small. We're not like Costa Rica, for instance, where, I mean, I've been to Costa Rica, and I know, for instance, if you are in San Jose, which is the capital, and you want to get to the on the Atlantic side now, you want to get to Limon, that is a good hour and a half drive, huh, or a 2 hour drive. Okay. Um, but in Barbados, it's a hop and a skip, really. You
yeah.
know.
No,
So
nowhere's too far from anywhere else in Barbados, really, is it?
exactly,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, we are only 21 miles by 14 miles. So how difficult is that to traverse? You know.
yeah. It's so true. And and tell us a little bit on, you brought us last week on this sort of nature walk hike, which I know you guys do a lot of. That was absolutely wonderful. We went sort of down through the property there, through the all of the sort of the sort of it's a palm forest you've got there, really.
Yes, a palm forest. Yes, cabbage palm
Um,
forest.
and it was just yeah, I'm using the word again and again, but it was kind of magical, really, because what you did, just for our listeners to be aware, Tom really sort of guided us through this walk, but all the time, stopping frequently just to sort of take in the sounds of nature and just to almost kind of recenter ourselves as we're in this sort of natural paradise. And it was really quite, it was almost spiritual, Tom. Is
Yes.
that how you feel when you walk through that?
Well, definitely. I mean, there's no question that when you immerse yourself into a forest, and this that we happen to have one next door to us, but the 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 cleansing of the mind is one of the major benefits that you get from walking through a forest. And as you said, I try to have people focus on their breathing, focus on and be aware of the forest noises, the white noises that you will hear, and and quite loud too. It's not as if you know that you have to strain your ears. And um, that whole exercise, coupled with the fact that you're getting some quote unquote exercise, because of course it's a hilly terrain, but not impossible to walk, or it's not dangerous or strenuous by any stretch. But it gives you the feeling as if yes, you're now really at one with nature, and you appreciate everything that she has to offer. I might mention too that the treatment of mental health is one of the areas that we have been paying attention to, not just here, but I suppose worldwide. What with the pandemic and all of the ills that brought, and you can't find a better place or a better space to do that than in a forest. And like I said, fortunately, we are surrounded by forests here at Naniki, so persons who are staying here could wander off, and it's very safe. So you don't even have to worry about um, lions and tigers and snakes and the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's really a wonderful experience.
It surely is, and you were saying that. Look, obviously we came for the day, and we did the hike and the yoga and the breakfast, which was fabulous. But obviously, one of the key parts of Naniki is you've got, what is it? You've got 20 accommodations there, right?
Yeah, we have 10 cottages, each with 2 bedrooms. So yes, and that serves our purpose well. It is large enough to be profitable, but small enough to be intimate, if you understand what
Yeah.
I mean. So persons who are, for instance, maybe host our retreats, the max would be, if there are two persons to a bedroom, let's say, you're talking 40. The best model would be probably half that, so that persons could really feel as if they're here by themselves, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
But yes, and the accommodation is designed and in keeping with everything that surrounds us. I not quite sure if I got it right, but I try to listen to Mother Nature, and certainly even down to the location of the cottages and the way that they're oriented towards the wind, the light, and the privacy, and whatever else. That is what we came up with. But if you did like a Google shot of Naniki, you will see that we are literally surrounded by a forest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovely, and it's like you say, it's just so peaceful. You feel as you walk around Naniki. Yeah, I mean, for me anyway, we were staying in the St. Lawrence Gap,
Mhm.
which is, if anybody out there listening has been, it's a sort of a main area. There's nightlife and all of that kind of stuff, and it's a lovely part of the island.
Of course.
Naniki, however, is it's a world away from that. You just feel a calm transcend over you as soon as
Mhm.
you're walking through, and it's something else really. And I think what you've done there with the cottages is absolutely fabulous. They're very simple, and they're very much in fitting with the rest of the area. But I know there's an awful lot of people out there, myself included, who that is just perfect. You've got these little sort of porches almost out the front of each one, where there's a hammock, and you can just sort of enjoy the breezes as they're coming in as well. And yeah, it's something else. What kind of people are you having staying in the cottages at the moment?
A mixture because of the pandemic, of course. We uh, suffered as far as having tourist traffic coming through on a regular basis. Now that has been eased somewhat. Um, we are getting a lot of Brits and Europeans, Germans, Italians. We also have been paying a lot of attention to our outreach to locals.
Yep.
So, for instance, last weekend we had about 40 cottages rented to locals, celebrating birthdays. And um, you might not be surprised to know that some tourists know the Scotland district better than the locals. So when the locals come, it is like, wow, but I didn't know that this existed here. And I'm saying, so yes, it has been here. This is Barbados. We have been here. But yes, there's a lot of that happening, and I dare say that going into continuing into the off season, notwithstanding what is going to happen around the crop over season, because I do expect that we'll have Barbadians in the diaspora coming back here. So just for the enjoyment of crop over and would indeed drop in to see us. We are trying to see if, and I thank you again for this effort, because we're trying to see how we can really boost the off season, right through until the end of the year. Because, like I said on the outset, at the outset, it is you can come here any time of the year, really.
Yeah, I must admit, I was left at the end of a week being here in the sort of the low season in Barbados. I was left genuinely wondering how the experience could possibly be better in the peak season. And actually, I was then thinking, for me, it could only be worse. I don't like crowds of people. That's basically why I set up the company. I don't like crowd. I love people. I just don't like crowds. And for me, the experience couldn't be better in the high season. Honestly, for me, it would be probably there'd be something taken away from it in the high season with loads of people. But in the low season, all of the locals that we met, who were all wonderfully friendly people, they kind of had time to speak and time to talk
Right.
to us and time to catch up because they weren't as busy with all of the tourists. And that for me was just another wonderful reason why to be
Right.
there in the low season. But the actual experience, I mean, everything's still open. The sun still shines. There's no
Yes.
there's no
Yeah.
reason there's no reason why you wouldn't go in the summer. It's bizarre, actually.
Yeah. The cruise ships tend to call into port during the winter months.
Mm.
Okay, so for instance, you look at the Bridgetown port between now, let us say in November, you probably come maybe about five, if so many in total, and that is because a lot of those cruises are the companies move the cruises to the Mediterranean. Um, this is something that we've had to wrestle with over the years. And again, you can cruise into the Caribbean in the low season and still have a wonderful time. I remember teasing one of one of my friends. They said, you might be pulling into port and the rain pouring cats and dogs, and before you can get hauled up, okay, you have a blue sky to welcome you. It is as as stark as that.
Yeah, it's so strange. You just mentioned there before, and I've got to mention it because there's an awful lot of talk right now about crop over, and there'll be
Hmm.
a lot of people out there, and myself included, until I visited, they will have no idea what crop over is, and it
Yeah,
happens every year in the low season months in Barbados.
yeah,
Give our
yeah.
listeners a little bit of an overview. What is crop over? What's that all about?
Crop over is a carnival.
Right,
Okay, it's a carnival
the
a la
party.
Baba. Okay, so party time. It culminates with the street parade on the first Monday in August, which happened to be the first of August this year. And over the years, that too has developed and has grown. Um, Calypso is an art form that is well, it is Caribbean, it is Trinidadian, it is Barbadian, it is Vincentian, and there are a lot of Calypsonians that look forward to this time of year to sell the recordings. A lot of them are very popular, not only in Barbados but in the diaspora as well. Um, so there's a lot of opportunity for persons who are designers of costumes, because remember I said there's a street parade, and you have all these wonderful costumes being displayed on the road with um, persons jumping and gyrating to the sounds of the calypso, to imbibe with help, obviously,
Yeah.
and it is wonderful. The season is short this year again because of the pandemic, so we were a little late in getting out of the starting blocks. But we're it's growing. You're hearing the airways being bombarded now with all the popular tunes, So it is nice, and it is a festival that I think um, we can really do with um, quote unquote tourists coming to experience it, because um, then you really get to meet the locals. Then you really get to rub shoulders, literally, okay,
Yeah.
with persons from Barbados who would be, more than welcome welcoming to you.
And do the with the crop over with the sort of the carnival side of it? I'm guessing that there's a really sort of big one in Bridgetown. Do each of the parishes, do they have their own kind of mini kind of carnival as
No,
well?
no. They have their it's not it is not community based in the sense that it moves around from parish to parish. Everything is centered around the popular venues, and the popular venues are in the areas where you have the majority of the population living. So, for instance, in St. Michael area in Christchurch, that strip very very popular with activities going right through. I would say that leading up to Cropover, probably from as early as Thursday evening or Thursday night, right through until Sunday, you'll have activities, but it's mainly centered around the urban areas.
Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be on the 1st of August. So anybody out
Yeah,
there
that's when and that it is called Kadooment Day. So Kadooment, it's a local word that it just means like confusion, but nice confusion. It's Trinidad, they call it bacchanal,
okay.
but it's when the street parade, which can start as early as like 9 o'clock in the morning and continue right away through until sundown. Huh?
Wow. Okay.
So
Long day.
and you have people lining the streets, and entrepreneurs will set up their little bars, whether it is outside of their homes or find a convenient space, and it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's really a fun time.
It sounds it. I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not going to be there for the 1st of August myself, to be honest, Tom. Because
Yeah.
when we got there and I was hearing people talking about it, I was thinking, man, that would have been so much fun to experience. But
It would have been. It would have been.
yeah.
But anyway, soon come, as they say. You have
Oh,
next year.
Yeah, we've got time. Tom, we're going to have to leave it there. But if for anybody out there that wants to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing at Naniki, they can visit, of course, nanikibarbados.com. Is that right?
That is correct. That's right. NanikiBarbados.com. That's
Perfect.
our website, and we also have a WhatsApp number, which is 1-246-433-1300.
Perfect.
So
I will
you
put
can-
those down on the I'll put those down on the show notes as well, so that anybody listening can refer to that as well. We're going to make sure that you're featured on Low Season Traveller. We're just creating our Barbados page at the moment, but one of the featured accommodations will indeed be Naniki. So we'll make sure that we have you on there as well, Tom. And again, people can find out more information on there too. But for now, Tom, I just want to thank you so much for getting up early in the morning. Your backdrop looks lovely. All I can see is palm trees in the background. But lovely catching up with you, and thank you again for your wonderful hospitality last week when we were in Barbados. Highly recommend anybody to visit you guys, stay for a couple of days. And Tom, you said last week, and I thought it was a really good point, that a lot of people, they do stay on the beach and they have a bit of the chaos and the carnage. And you were sort of saying, what could be a really cool idea is, spend your last 2 or 3 nights at Naniki just before you go home, just to kind of recenter yourself. You've had the craziness at Lawrence Gap and the Calypso and all of that, and just to sort of recenter yourself and come back, I suppose, recharged and refreshed after 3 days in Naniki towards the end. And I think that was a really good tip too.
Most definitely.
Perfect. Tom, thanks a million once again, and look forward to speaking to you again soon. And hey, have a great crop over. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Jed. And it was an absolute pleasure hosting you. I really enjoyed the exchanges that we had, and I look forward to seeing you soon again.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. So there you have it. We highly recommend Naniki Barbados as the perfect antidote to the stresses of modern life. And indeed, we can't wait to visit Tom and the team again next time. And you can learn more about Naniki by visiting nanikibarbados.com. But that's our show for this week. Thanks as always for your company. And if you enjoyed the podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could leave us a small positive review on your podcast app. Have a great week wherever you are. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep your travel dreams alive, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to be the first to hear our latest low season stories and guides. Finally, remember that travel is always better and fairer for the planet, the local communities, and you, the travellers, when it's without the crowds.